Today we're going to find out if it's possible if the micro size amplifier, this big or this small, can actually power your entire system. Stick around and we'll find out together. I've got to say, these micro size amplifiers have always been interesting to me. First, how do they get so much power inside such a tiny little case? And really just the technology behind it. These use the Class D chip amps. I will show that later in the video. We'll take it apart so that you can see that. But things like this really are just interesting to me, the technological part of car audio, to find out how they can pack so much power in such a small little enclosure. Now it is aluminum. Stick around and we'll find out together how this works out. Is it okay? Is it no good? Again, we're going to find out together. Searching eBay and Amazon as I typically do, coming across this for $58. You know what I had to do. That's right, I had to pick one up. Check out the box this thing comes in. Super small. I mean, if this thing was at a grocery store, it would literally be hanging up by the register at the front. Let's take it out of the box and find out what's inside. First, we have a Stetsom sticker. Put on your window. Everybody know that you're serious business. Then we have the owner's manual, which is just a very small guide here. Have to use your spectacles if you're old like me to be able to read it. But that's it. And the amplifier. Literally 3 things inside the box. This thing is tiny. It'll literally fit in the palm of your hand. Palm of my hand, that is, as well. As far as dimensions go overall, again, very small. We'll talk about it here. 4.4 inches on the long side, 3 inches for the width, and 1.9 inches for the height. Just so tiny overall. Now the amp's called a 280.3. It's because it's rated 280 watts across 3 different channels. Now at 4 ohms, 40 watts by 2 plus 140 watts. At 2 ohms, 70 watts by 2. And the sub-channel is only good at 4 ohms according to the ratings. There you can see Stetsom unlimited power. Digital 2 by 70 watts at 2 ohms, 1 by 140 at 4 ohms. Let's spin it around on the table a little bit and take a closer look at some of the options here. We have the fuse here, which is a 15 amp mini ATC style. Then we have the power inputs for power, ground, and remote. Those accept around 12 gauge. Also, we have the sub output, 10 hertz to 90 hertz. That is a fixed crossover on those. And the front channel is 90 hertz up to 29 kilohertz for left and right. As the tables are turning, we can get to the back side. That's right, there are more things on this amplifier. We're going to take a closer look. Not a whole lot though. Here first up on the left, the RCA inputs for your low level. These are fixed. There is no variable adjustment to these inputs. Also, we have a sub-level potentiometer so you can bump that bass. We'll try that later in the video. And if you want all the different features and specs, you can pause this and read through them. I'm not going to go through them, but I went through the most important ones. Of course, you can check it out here closely if you'd like. Now that you've seen all the different features and inputs and everything on this micro size amplifier, let's get it hooked up to the amp dyno and find out how much true power it puts out. As we hear the relays clicking on the amp dyno, let's talk about these tests. If you haven't seen them before, on the left side, you'll see the power output in watts. In the middle, the ohm load. On the right, the voltage of the dyno. We'll also have the clamp, but 3-channel amps are difficult to get efficiency, but we'll give our best estimate of the efficiency. First up, we're going to do the 2-channel test. This is a 2.1 amp. So we'll test the 2 channels first at 4 ohms, and the sub is also loaded down at 4 ohms. It's rated 40 watts by 2. We'll send it a 1 kilohertz test tone here. Certified test takes us up to 1% distortion, and we get not 40 watts. We get about 29 watts per channel at 14.34, so fail there. Let's go through the dynamic test, sending a pulse tone into the amp, and once again, failure. Not 40 watts per channel, and even we have more voltage by about half a volt. So this amp does not do its rated power at 4 ohms for the .2 channels. Let's try at 2 ohms. It's rated 70 watts by 2 at 13.8. Again, certified to 1% distortion, 1 kilohertz test track. What can we get? And not 70 watts. About 45 watts per channel average here at 14.3. We'll set the dyno here for the dynamic track, send a pulse tone into the amp, and once again, underwhelming. Well away from that 70 watts by 2 it's rated, about 46 watts per channel on average. Okay, now we have the amp wired up with the subwoofer, which is the blue wires here, going into the amp dyno, and the other 2 channels, the front channels, are going into 4 ohm resistors, 1000 watt resistors. So let's try the sub channel and see how it does. Now the sub channel of the 280.3 is only rated at 4 ohms. It's rated 140 watts at 13.8 volts. Of course, we're going to be feeding it a little over 14. Let's try it certified to 1% distortion using the 40 hertz track and 84 watts. Just a little bit less, or a little bit more than half of what this amp is rated. Boo! Let's try it up to clipping and see if we can get closer to that 140 watts. Here it is into clipping, and you can see we get just over 100 watts. I think it ends at 102, 14.28. Then we'll try the dynamic test, which sends a pulse tone of 40 hertz like a subwoofer kick drum, kicking the sound into your ear that you can't hear because I got it muted. But yeah, 98 watts, 14.28. So still shy of that 140 watts is rated. So a big bummer to those who thought this $58 amp was going to do its rated power and more. It didn't. You can pause this if you want to see all the different results, including 8 ohm stereo, which I didn't show in the test here. And at the very end of the video, I'll show some additional tests on the sub side. But this is a 3-channel amplifier, so why don't we get 3 channels worth of speakers and hook it up to it and see how does it sound? Who cares about what the amp dyno says? We actually want to try it with some speakers and see if we be smiling. All right, we got the amp all hooked up. Let's fire it up.
Turn it up some more. Polyester tweeter singing sweet lullabies. Diamond coated eyes, kiss the starry sky. Boom so thick, I could bake a pie. My system's the truth, no room for lies. Turn it up, let it pound, let it grow. Sparkomatic sound, make the bass so manic. You can't handle Sparkomatic. Turn the key, let's take a ride. Sparkomatic, feel the pride. Subwoofer stomp, the bass won't hide. Best sound system nationwide.
It was this song where I started noticing some odd sounds from the subwoofer. So I thought maybe it was just the song, or maybe it could have been the subwoofer. So we're going to try out a different sub here in a minute just to see, was it really the sub or was it the amp?
Bring it up, man. The bass don't stutter. Rise powered by the MTX Blue Thunder. 300 watts, yeah, the streets gon' quake. Metek Orion, man, they don't make mistakes. Blue in the dye, shining cold like frostbite. Amp so clean, make the subs ignite. Bipolar transistors, Thunder EQ. Sound so divine, low distortion flexing on your Alpine. Dry mode settings, I'm a wizard with the fader. Current sensing tech, yeah, I'm an innovator. Made in USA, straight out of the lab. Back when amps had pride, now they all so drab. This ain't no knockoff, this the OG hitter.
One thing I noticed is the bass adjustment here on the back for the sub channel. It's like impossible to turn. I don't know why they recessed it quite so far, but I can't adjust it live for you while I'm playing it back, unfortunately, or I would. But you may notice in some of the clips here, the woofer's pushing a little bit harder. It's because I've turned that up, but I can't, literally I can't put my fingers on it to do it with one hand. So I'll turn it up now so we get a little bit more bass. So this is the 3rd different subwoofer I've tried because I thought that I had bad subs, but apparently it is not the subwoofer. Let me play back this track and I'll let you hear it. The Soundstream sub usually sounds good, but unfortunately with this amp, it did not sound good. Let's use the T10 here And let's take off the screws on the bottom so we can take a closer look at the internals of this micro size 3-channel amplifier from Stetsom. Find out what makes it tick, what makes it talk, and what makes the subwoofer sound so bad. This thing is full of capacitors. Check it out. You can see the different heat sink and the bottom plate. This thing has got more caps than Compton on a Saturday night.
This is not a Mickey Mouse program.
Looks like the output rails are 470 microfarad, 50 volts. And as far as the filtering there for the power supply, 25 volts, 1000 microfarad. There's 2 of those, and there's 4 of the ones for the rails. And here is this tiny, tiny circuit board here. And you can see it looks big here, but I do have the macro lens going. I'm going to show you the difference here between a CD and the amp board. This thing is just micro size. Again, that's why they call it a micro size amp. Now let's talk about the pros and cons of the Stetsom IR 280.3. First up, the good stuff. It is inexpensive if you still get it while it's on clearance. 3 channels of output, 2 stereo, 1 mono for a sub. Has a separate bass level adjustment to make your bass woofer sound worse the more you turn it up. Also a small footprint. Yeah, this thing is tiny, and it has insert terminals for about 12 gauge for all the different connections, which is kind of nice. Things that could be better to the power output sucks. The sub output sounds horrible when you turn it up. The input level is fixed. Also, the crossovers are fixed. 90 hertz down for the sub side, 90 hertz up for the stereo channels. Also, this thing is discontinued, so you might be able to find it, you might not, but there may be a good reason why it's discontinued. Well, there you have my review of the Stetsom IR 280.3. Unfortunately, it did not live up to its wattage ratings. Now, we have seen this before in the past, so unfortunately, it's not shocking. But we did have high hopes based on the low price that we were going to get a really good deal. And I was going to be able to tell you guys, hey, if you got an old car that just needs a simple amplifier to run, you know, a subwoofer and a couple of mids and high speakers, or if you have a boom box that you want to boost with the amplifier, you know, give your little boom box some extra bass with the built-in subwoofer deal. But guys, honestly, the subwoofer portion of this amplifier is just horrible. I mean, power output was not as expected, but also the sound quality just wasn't great on the sub side. The mids and high side didn't sound too bad, but the sub part just did not sound good. So I would pass on this one. But we just had to try it out. Again, it was cheap, and I wanted to find out, hey, is it worth you guys actually buying this? In this case, nope. The amp is only rated at 4 ohms on the sub channel. We're going to try dynamic only here at 2.67. Let's see what we get. All right, 121. Let's try it at 2 ohms, just out of curiosity, and see if it does 2 ohms dynamic. Not rated for it. Start the track. So 135, we're almost getting that 140. Not quite, 135 at 14.22.